Welcome back to Chapter 3 of our Excel Mastery series. In today's episode titled Pivot Tables Demystified, Analyze Any Data in Minutes, we're going to explore how to identify datasets that can truly benefit from the power of pivot tables. Get ready to unlock insights and streamline your analysis. Let's dive in. A typical office has spreadsheets with thousands of rows, and almost no one touches the one feature built to tame them. You're scrolling, filtering, squinting at totals. Then someone casually drags a field, and in seconds the chaos snaps into a clear story. What just happened? Most people meet pivot tables the wrong way. In a rushed meeting, with someone saying, "Oh, I'll just pivot it," and your screen instantly turns into a dense grid of totals. It feels like a magic trick you're not in on. Underneath, though, is something surprisingly down to earth, a way to ask specific questions of messy data without touching a single formula. Instead of scrolling through raw rows, you decide what story you want: sales by region, complaints by product, tasks by owner and month. Then you let the pivot table rearrange the same information into that view and change the question as fast as your curiosity shifts. It's less about learning a new feature and more about changing how you think, from staring at everything to interrogating slices. In this episode, we'll turn that mysterious grid into a set of simple moves you can actually trust. Instead of worrying about doing it right, start by treating your data like a buffet. You're not eating everything. You're choosing what belongs on your plate right now. Totals by month, issues by team, costs by category. Pivot layouts are simply different plates for the same ingredients. Some highlight volume, others timing, others exceptions. The real power is how quickly you can swap perspectives: today's urgent view versus next quarter's planning view. In this episode, we'll focus on 3 skills: picking better questions, spotting default setting traps, and turning refreshable views into living reports. Here's where that buffet of data turns into something you can actually serve to other people. Start with the questions, not the fields. Instead of "let me see everything," try "where are we leaking money? Which customers grew or shrank this quarter? What's overwhelming our support team this month?" Each one hints at a layout. Where are we leaking money? Categories and rows, months and columns, spend and values. Which customers changed? Customers and rows, period and columns, percent difference as a value field setting. What's overwhelming support? Issue type in rows, week in columns, count of tickets in values. The trick is to treat rows and columns as labels and values as math. If it's a label you'd say out loud in a sentence, it probably belongs on an edge, by region, by project, by rep. If it's a number you'd calculate, it probably belongs in values. When things look strange, it's often because those roles got swapped. Next, watch the default math. Your tool will cheerfully guess. Numeric fields usually get summed, text gets counted. That's fine until it isn't. Headcount accidentally summed instead of counted. Percentages summed instead of averaged. Revenue counted instead of summed. Before you trust any table, click the field settings and say, "What does this number claim to be, in plain English?" If you can't answer that, don't show it to anyone. Now layer in time. Drag dates into the layout and explore grouping, by month, quarter, year. This is where patterns jump out: seasonality in sales, spikes in incidents after a release, onboarding peaks for HR. A single field turns from a wall of daily entries into a calm calendar of totals. To keep things living instead of static, connect your table to a stable source range or data model, then refresh instead of rebuilding. Add slicers for the dimensions people argue about most: country, product line, team, so they can click their view instead of asking you for a new file. Your challenge this week: take one ugly, frequently emailed report, rebuild it as a refreshable pivot with clearly labeled values and a couple of slicers, and use only that version in your next meeting. Let the questions in the room drive which fields you drag where, and notice how much faster the conversation moves when the numbers can keep up. Use pivots when the question is bigger than your screen. A customer success lead I worked with had 280,000 support logs, dates, agents, tags, sentiment, resolution time. Alone, each row was a story. Together, they were noise. Once she added agent and issue type on the edges, and resolution time and values, as average, not sum, the real problem surfaced. 3 tags with slow closures, clustered around 2 time zones. Excel can crunch that scale in seconds, but the real advantage is how quickly you can change the lens. Switch to sentiment by product, and the villains might flip. Group by week instead of month, and launch day chaos becomes obvious. One e-commerce team ran a weekly ritual. Same pivot, new date range, 3 clicks of slicers. That rhythm turned reactions, why did revenue dip, into rehearsed moves. Filter to affected region, compare to last week, drill into top 10 SKUs. Like a weather radar that lets you toggle rainfall, temperature, and wind, the fields you place decide which fronts you actually see forming. Soon you'll barely touch the mechanics. You'll describe the outcome, and the tool will assemble it. Asking, show churn by plan, highlight spikes, will feel closer to talking with an analyst than wrestling with menus. The opportunity isn't in clicking faster, but in framing sharper questions and stress testing the answers. Think less like a report writer and more like a doctor. Symptoms, metrics, tests, views, diagnosis, insight, treatment, decision, all on a tighter loop. Once you're comfortable reshaping the grid, the next step is to play. Try swapping in unconventional fields, like lead source, error code, or campaign slogan, and see which totals suddenly matter. Your challenge this week: treat each new view as a hypothesis test, not a final answer. Keep twisting the cube until a decision becomes almost embarrassingly obvious. This was Owl Up, your daily step forward. This series continues with more chapters on owlup.co. Visit owlup.co to access the complete course and continue your learning journey. See you there!